Ooh.
Hey, YouTube.
YouTube.
It's
Hello.
it's me, Gabe, and
Paul.
from
The Spine Crackers
podcast.
cast. Here we are.
Oh God. We'll get the fucking YouTube thing down, dude. We'll get the fucking YouTube thing down.
That was pretty good for
No, that was good. Easy clap. I love the effect of having a background on your cup.
Oh, it's on my cup?
Yeah, well,
Oh,
no, it's not. It's just like makes it look funny. I love it.
I do like that. Wow.
So the mysterious sensual man in Paul's background is, of course, the well-known famous runner Haruki Murakami.
Yeah, that's actually a picture of him. He actually wrote a memoir about running.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's like legit like a big runner, right?
Yeah, he's I read his memoir and he's been running every day. And he's like in his 70s now. He's been running every day since like the age of 32 or 33. He
God
gets
damn.
up and runs, and he says that it's like a part of his writing discipline.
I'm 33. Maybe I should start running.
Maybe.
Are you saying that because I'm fat?
No, you said it first. Apparently he like quits. He was smoking like a pack or two of cigarettes a day for like 10 years, and then he was like, if I'm gonna run every day, I can't do that. So he quit smoking and just started running. And he's
Chad.
Crazy. Yeah, super Chad.
Chad
He wakes up super early with his wife and goes to sleep at like 7 p.m. or something. He's just like opposite review bra, basically.
Opposite review bra. Yeah. Who is just, he was equally an equal Chad.
Yeah, he's the night Chad.
Yeah.
Murakami's the morning running Chad.
I've been going to bed pretty fucking early because I have to get up early these days.
Yeah, I'm jealous of your schedule. It's nice to wake up early.
But sometimes I just go to bed late and get up early anyway because I don't fucking care.
I don't do that ever.
Anyway, the reason so yeah, I was like, maybe we can get this done in like 20 minutes. We're gonna be here for like an hour and a half.
Yeah, totally. What the fuck?
So the reason we have Mr. Murakami up there in the background is because this is going to be a review, the first in a long series. Paul, did we decide on a name? Is this the Murakami Minute, the Kami Corner?
The Kami Corner. Yeah, I guess that works.
Or we at Spine Crackers have coined a term for big fans of Murakami, and we call them Murakumers. And so we call it the Murakumer Corner or the
not exactly. I mean, it's not like it's not PC, but it's a little bit, nasty.
It's a little nasty. It's a little spicy.
A little nasty.
So we'll decide on a fun name. But,
yeah, but for now, in my head, I'm gonna say the Coomer Corner.
There you go. Okay. Yeah. So we're gonna be reviewing some of Murakami's short stories, and who knows, if this goes on long enough, maybe we'll start reviewing some bonus novel reviews. And so the reason I wanted to do this or to start this, so we're starting off with this collection, Men Without Women, and we also got The Elephant Vanishes, and we'll move to that. I love that. And we'll probably move to this one at some point down the road. Yeah, I just picked that one up too. And at least I don't know about you, but the reason that I wanted to do this is because this is a spoiler alert, podcast spoilers. Ready?
Oh my God.
Is because in a couple months on the podcast, or I guess is it next month? I don't know. We're going to be reading.
It's next month. Yeah.
We're going to be reading Killing Commendatore, which is is it his most recent novel? One of them?
It's might be his most recent one, but I know he just
released another collection of stories, I think, right?
I don't know. I should know because I'm apparently a Coomer, but I don't know that.
So this is from 2018. So it's one of his most recent works.
Yep.
It's a thick boy. I'm getting there. I'm like almost done. I'm like 500 pages in, so I'm getting there.
You're getting to the juicy parts.
Yeah. Well, whatever. We can't review.
Yeah, we can't review it yet.
But that we're going to be reviewing that on the podcast pretty soon. And I personally, this will only be my second Murakami book. We read before we started recording the podcast. Yeah, when we were just a humble friend reading group, we read Norwegian Wood,
which was my pick. And I picked it because I wanted my friends to read. I wanted you in particular just to be exposed to Murakami because he's my favorite author.
You're the OG Murakami.
Even though I've only read like 3 or 4 or 5 of his books, but still, he's every time I read one or read like even the short story we just read, I'm just like, yeah, I just love this dude. But Norwegian Wood was a pretty different story compared to a lot of his books I've read. It was more grounded,
Right.
and I was a little disappointed in that because there wasn't a lot of magical realism or anything, and I was like, oh, Gabe, you haven't really experienced what I like about Murakami, so that's why I picked Kill and Commit Tori. But yeah, why did you want to start reading other stuff?
Well, it was basically sort of for that reason, kind of what you just said, which is that like I actually like Norwegian Wood a lot. I was like, oh, this is pretty good. I like this. I like this book, but but
like this
if you if you're right that it sort of was not exactly my expectation of Murakami, who has this reputation of the magical realism, the weirdness, the like weird sex stuff, and there is a little weird sex stuff in that book, but
there's some weird sex stuff,
but not like the sort of surreal magical realist vibes at all in that book. And so I kind of wanted to just kind of like not fill in some gaps, I guess, but kind of get a wider sort of sense of his writing and his style and his preoccupations and whatever before we tackle this one, because this is a fatty. And I thought the best way to do that, and one of my friends who's also a Murakami fan, another friend of mine, recommended starting with some of his short story collections. And I also wasn't sure I'd have time to get through the novels in a way that I would want to before we get to KC.
So is The Elephant Vanishes, is that short stories too?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
that's
cool.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of hoping to get a vibe, get more of a vibe for Murakami before we talk about the big fat book in a few weeks. So that's why we're doing it.
Good strategy to do that.
And so yeah, we're gonna just kind of review. I don't know if we're gonna do a separate video for every story, maybe in this one, but this one, these are a lot shorter, and we could probably do 2 or 3 per video. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But for this video, we're just gonna talk about the first story from Men Without Women collection called Drive My Car.
Drive My Car.
What was your vibe on this one, Paul?
My vibe. Well, there wasn't.
So it's just like about. Well, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, there wasn't any magical realism in this one.
No,
there was not.
Nope.
And I'm actually wondering if there's going to be any in any of these short stories. But I like this story a lot. I mean, it was like 30, 35 pages or so.
Yep.
It kind of hit on a lot of the Murakami, like, just, the things he kind of has in his repertoire of literary devices, like a single lonely guy.
Sad boy
who's suppressing his depression. So that's kind of a trope of Murakami. And then, but yeah, do you want to walk through the story?
Yeah. So, it's pretty simple. It's about a guy who is a wealthy actor. I don't know if we ever get the details, but it seems like he's a stage actor, right? Mostly.
I got the impression that, I mean, there's a scene where he wipes his stage makeup off, and I was actually kind of wondering if he was one of those traditional, those like traditional Japanese.
Oh, like no plays people and stuff.
Yeah, I was actually. They don't really say so, but I was wondering if he dabbles in that kind of acting, because I don't know. It's not really clear, but he is like,
he's not like a movie star though. Like
no, he's not. No,
I think he's like theater actor, and he's aging. He's like had his career. He's made his money. He's wealthy, and kind of starting to fade off of the scene a little bit. And the story opens with him getting his car fixed, basically, and then kind of asking his mechanic if he can recommend a driver for him to drive him around places because he's rich, motherfucker.
Well, he also has the beginning stages of glaucoma, which you find out later. So
Right.
that's why he actually needs a driver like legally. Um,
Right. And he was arrested for drunk driving at one point, right?
yeah, and they let him off the hook because they wanted to keep it under wraps, which adds to potential prominence.
Yes. So his mechanic recommends a driver, and Misaki,
Misaki.
and
Harry.
she's kind of this I don't know. She's described as kind of like, I guess like a tomboy, maybe like kind of homely, like she smokes and like doesn't wear like girly clothes or anything. She's basically Ryan Gosling girl.
Yeah, she's Ryan Gosling drive girl, Japanese girl. Yeah, she's like, she doesn't speak much. She the story opens up with Kafuku talking about how he's like uncomfortable. He's always been uncomfortable with women driving,
Yes.
which is like, mildly misogynistic first couple of pages, but he trusts his mechanic a lot. So when he says that this driver is really good and I think you'd really like this driver, the mechanic like hits the nail on the head, and he goes on a test drive with Misaki, and he really appreciates her driving, but also appreciates her like quietness, because he just doesn't like to talk. He
Right.
wants to be in the car and do his lines, and she just kind of drives him around to his different meetings, his performances. Just 6 days a week she's just driving him around, and he just likes her company because she doesn't talk, basically.
Right. I think the point is interesting that you made about the misogyny, the potential misogyny, like the oh, women can't drive. Like
Yeah.
the first page of the book, of the story, the first page and a half is like, well, there's two types of women drivers: the overly aggressive and the overly passive. And I just think I thought like one of the other reasons that I wanted to read this potentially specifically is because that's kind of one of the things that you hear people critique Murakami for, right? Not necessarily misogyny, but like kind of flat female characters, not developed super well. And I think, and I don't have enough experience with him to know how true that is. I've only read 1.5 books basically. And I thought the title, I wonder if the title of this collection, which is also the title of one of the stories, is kind of like a little cheeky acknowledgement of that on his part. Like,
Yeah,
because a lot of his stories could kind of be boiled down that way. Like these stories about, like you said, sad boys, and they either trying to get with a woman or they lost one, or
that's one critique that I definitely disagree with, though. I mean, I've always found his women in his stories to be unique and intriguing. So I don't totally know where that criticism comes from. There's always like an added layer a layer of mystery with his female characters, which I think is totally intentional, because I think, especially in this story, I think it's apparent that Murakami just doesn't understand women in a way, and acknowledges that, and it's kind of what a theme of this story is.
right.
And I think that's one reason why he writes his women in a mysterious way, where you don't like get a full picture, you just get like kind of glimpses here and there. But I don't know, I've always found like the women characters, female characters in Norwegian Wood, I thought were like, I don't know what you thought, but I thought they were very unique, well-rounded characters.
No, I did. I thought that criticism certainly didn't apply to that book. Although, I do, there is a little bit of like, and it's not true in this one story, which, but it is a little bit sort of like you say, they're kind of like these ethereal, like alien, weird, like, not like manic pixie dream girl, but like pale, ghostly, sad girl. You know what I mean? Like mysterious, sad ghost girl.
Yeah.
And that was true in this book a little bit, not about Misaki, but about the wife. What did she get? Did she get a name? Kafuku's wife?
I don't. I wrote down everyone's name, and I didn't write hers down. I'm not sure if that means it wasn't in there or not. But
I don't think she does get a name. So
okay.
The background, unless I'm mistaken, but the background is that Kafuku's wife has died. She died a while back. Okay, now how did she die? I forget, Paul.
Uterine cancer.
Uterine cancer, right?
Yeah.
And so
They had like
he
what they met when he was 29. They said they spent 20 years together. I think he's around like 55 now.
yeah, so she
Something.
died a few years ago.
Yeah.
And he he knew that she was having affairs when she was alive, right? Like multiple affairs with other actors and other random people. But he fixates on this one guy that she was having an affair with, Takatsuki.
Takatsuki.
Takatsuki, who was another actor. So you have kind of the classic like old fading actor and like young hot new talent dynamic.
A little bit of that though, but he's not even described as being that overtly handsome or talented or
Right.
like, and she's described as being like a very beautiful woman. When she was a younger actress, she was like a huge star, and her fame kind of faded as she got older. But um yeah, I mean, the main focus on the short story, I would say, is the inquisitive nature of Kafuku, just kind of um intuitively knowing that she had, I think it was 4 affairs he counted over the course of the 20 years. And he said that, he never had any affairs and he never really felt like he needed to, but he was cunning enough to realize what was going on, and he just knew it without
Right.
even having to ask her, and he never brings it up. And it's kind of about his like, I don't know, his regret of not bringing it up before she died, kind of missing the opportunity because she got cancer and died right away before he could ask her about it. But it's really, I mean, I don't know what you thought about it, but it was really it's kind of an odd thing to just like hold this secret and not really ever confront her about it, and just kind of be like, oh, I love this person, I'm not going to talk about it with her ever.
Right, because I think you're right, and it's because it wasn't like. And so the other part of the story, this is really the last part of it, and because all of this is sort of framed as him kind of in snippets and in like small bits telling this stuff to Misaki while she's driving him around. It's not like one sort of sustained thing. It's some of him telling her these things, and then some narrative of her driving him around, and they talk about other stuff and whatever. But the other part of it is that he ultimately befriends Takatsuki. Sorry, that one's tough for me for some reason. He befriends Takatsuki, and like because he wants to try to figure out why his wife liked this guy, why she cheated on him with this guy, why she had the affair. And so he befriends him, and they like develop like a kind of like a real friendship, and like they go out and drink for like like a long time.
Yeah, like months and
Like
months.
months and months and months. And yeah, I think he says they were like friends and drinking buddies for like 6 months or 7 months or something, and they would talk about her because they, not because Takatsuki doesn't know explicitly that Kafuku knows that there was an affair, but they kind of like, there's kind of this unspoken thing, and they talk about her because they work together, and blah 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 blah. But I thought that dynamic was really interesting because it sort of became like the focus of the story. And again, I think this is this kind of cheeky thing maybe Murakami is doing about the female characters or whatever, because the focus of the story becomes not about men without women, but about like men with men. It becomes about Kafuku and Takatsuki's friendship more than anything else.
Yeah. Men with beers.
Yeah, men with men just vibing,
who had sex and loved the same woman. Because it kind of comes out that Kafuku pretty much believes that Takatsuki like loved this woman. Like
right?
Takatsuki was married or is married and had a kid or two and had this affair with Kafuku's wife, but he like loved her.
Yep.
And Kafuku is like inquisitive enough to realize that like she, had these affairs like 3 or 4 months, each of them, and they were just kind of flings to her.
Right.
But to Takatsuki, like it wasn't a fling to him.
He was into
fell in
it
love with this guy's wife, and yeah, it's a weird little bromance.
Yeah, dudes rock. It's very dudes rock.
But it is dudes rock. But then after a while, Kafuku he just kind of discards him.
He ghosts him basically.
He ghosts him. He ghosts his buddy friend because he kind of like gets what he needed out of the relationship. Because it was kind of not mean, but it's a little bit
it sounded mean the way it was written.
Of him to just like infiltrate this guy and pretend that he doesn't know about this and just be like, oh, I want to talk to you about my late wife because he knew her at this acting whatever.
Yeah, it's very creepy, but also it's very like it's wholesome but also very creepy at the same time in some ways, you know what I mean? It walks that line between wholesome and creepy.
Yeah, which is one thing that I just really like about Murakami in general. Like it's a strange line to walk in a believable way.
Yeah.
And this was very believable to me. But yeah, the reason that we talked about Misaki, the driver, not being that talkative, but
right.
The reason this all comes out is like Misaki eventually just wants to know more about him and comes out and just starts asking him questions, and there's she just wants to know finally about who she's been driving around, and it ends up kind of being like a little therapy session in the car.
Yes.
For Kafuku, I think they said that it's been 10 years.
Okay, that sounds about right. Yeah.
So, and he like had some flings, but he still just like loves his dead wife. So he's just been like a sad boy, silent with no friends for 10 years, and he kind of needed this therapy session to talk to someone about this relationship with Takatsuki.
Yep. Yeah, I think the character of Misaki is really interesting, just because she does function as this kind of like therapeutic kind of sounding board. You know what I mean? It's like when you're in like a lift, you know what I mean? And you're fucking like your drunk friend just wants to talk to the Lyft driver the whole fucking time just about like their life and shit. It's kind of like that vibe, but then it turns around and like you say, like she starts being the one initiating conversations. She starts being the one like asking these kind of probing questions.
It's
and
like
he has a connection with her, right? Because she's like the exact same age as a daughter that he might have had or something.
Yeah, they had Kafuku and his wife had a miscarriage.
Yes.
Around like the same exact month or something that Misaki was born. So
yeah,
she said she's 24 years old, and he was like, what month are you born? And he was like, oh, you could have been like, my daughter could have been exactly your age. And that's something I actually want to bring up because Murakami has these kind of open-ended coincidences. And I think that's one of his criticisms too, is that there's a lot of like there's a lot of coincidences that you can get to the end of one of his books and they can just mean absolutely nothing. They don't pay off, I guess, so to speak. And I think that's one criticism by people is they like want these coincidences to pay off. But that's actually one thing I really like about his stories is that like what is when you experience a coincidence in real life, what does that mean? And do you ever get to the answer to what that coincidence means?
Rarely. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I believe in coincidences that they're just coincidences. I don't believe that there's some overwhelming like godly force like lining things up to like make your life have meaning or something. But if you do believe in that, I think that you can read into Murakami's writing and be like, oh, but I want that to pay off. I want that to be like a spiritual element or something. But for me, it's like a coincidence is just a coincidence. It makes you think and wonder about what that could mean, but that's all it does for me. Is like there's no answer to it. And that's what I like about his open-ended coincidences in general, is that like they're intriguing, but to me they're just meaningless.
right I mean, well, and we all know, I mean, I'll say I just want to flag also that it is really interesting that this particular coincidence in this story is like a hint about like the miscarriage and Misaki's birthday or like birth month or whatever about the same time, no spoilers, but in Killing Commendatore, one of the major plot points is a girl who may or may not be someone's daughter. And that's kind of
prequel.
And that's kind of left ambiguous in this story so far, anyway, where I'm at. So I thought that was a really interesting connection. And I think you're right about this whole coincidence thing. It's like, it's out there and he mentions it, but it doesn't come back. There's no like satisfying resolution. It doesn't matter really to the story. But I think in this particular story and in this collection, that is sort of another way of talking about loss, right? Like Kafuku is a man without a woman, without women, both because his wife is dead and because he lost what he thinks could be a daughter, a potential daughter, right? And so he's sort of, it's about just loss in the general sense in that way.
Yeah, I think that's totally right. Like when you see a coincidence in real life, maybe it's because it's lining up with some trauma or loss, and it's meaningful to you because you see a connection to your lost daughter or something like that.
Yep.
So that's the way the coincidence forms. Yeah, I think that's a good point.
Did you have any passages that you wanted to read or anything?
I did want to read one.
I've got one. I've got one too. So hopefully they're not the same.
This one is about. It's about Kafuku talking about Takatsuki's drinking.
Yeah.
It doesn't relate to much of the story, but I just thought it was a good kind of psychoanalysis of the two types of drinkers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Is that a beer? Are you drinking a beer?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of beer is that?
I don't know if I'm allowed to show brands on YouTube, but it's a local. Ooh, man, I can't say that without being cringe. It's a local hazy IPA.
How many hops does it have?
Many.
Many hops.
6. No, that's too many.
6.
Let's see. They usually say one single centennial hops.
Oh wow, amazing!
Which are some of my favorite.
All right, let me read this bitch. One.
You can't say that about men without women. He's already misogynistic.
I mean, it was like a playful.
I'm joking. I know. Me too. Me too, baby. We're on the same page here.
Playful. One other thing was becoming clear. Takatsuki drank way too much. There were many heavy drinkers in Kafuku's line of work. Why were actors so susceptible to alcohol? So we could tell Tatsuki's drinking was not the healthy, wholesome kind. In Kafuku's considered opinion, there were two types of drinkers: those who drank to enhance their personalities and those who sought to rid themselves of something. Takatsuki clearly belonged to the later group. I like Murakami's really like, he just has a clear way of like analyzing people in a funny kind of cheeky way.
Yeah.
But I read that and I was like, I definitely belong to one of those groups.
You don't know which one though?
No, I do. I'm just not going to say.
Wait, what's the first group again?
The people that enhance their personalities.
Oh, right. I don't know if I'm in either. I think I'm just in this because it's fucking awesome rules group.
I think that means that you're in the wholesome group. I love the way that he used the word wholesome there to like
wholesome drink. Yeah.
Which we were talking about a few weeks ago. Like that's the kind of drinker I want to be, just a wholesome drinker.
That's the way to be.
I would say you're a wholesome drinker.
Generally, but if you want to see sort of, I mean, not unwholesome, but go listen to the Charles Dickens Christmas special, Spine Crackers episode.
Yeah, that was great. Bye.
Oh god.
So do you have anything else to say, Gabe? All right, I gotta go. Bye.
Just unilaterally ending the podcast like within 10 seconds. Like, all right, we're done. Gotta go. Bye.
Matt and I were like, I guess we're done. All right.
Not my proudest moment, but
it was hilarious.
Some good content. So if anyone go listen to that episode.
Christmas wholesome content. I would say that was a wholesome podcast.
Yeah, it's more wholesome than not. I just wanted to read the passage where he's talking about his wife's death and her like cremation and funeral. It's on Paul. It's on page 16 and 17. So this goes what you were talking about earlier, him kind of like regretting not having these conversations with her about like why, just why, you know what I mean? That's really what he's after, like just why. It's not even necessarily why Takatsuki, why the specific guy, but just like why in general.
Yeah.
He regretted that he had not summoned his resolve while she was still alive to question her about her affairs. It was a regret that visited him frequently. He had been oh so close to asking her. He would have said, "What were you looking for in those other men? What did you find lacking in me?" But it had been mere months before the end, and she was suffering terribly as she struggled against her approaching death. He didn't have the heart to demand an answer. Then, without a word of explanation, she had vanished from Kafuku's world. The question never ventured, the answer never proffered. He was lost in those thoughts at the crematorium as he plucked her bones from the ashes. So lost that someone whispered in his ear, Kafuku did not hear them. Sad.
I mean, that's a good example of just how sad this
Sad
story
boys.
is too. Like,
Yeah.
We haven't really brought that up, but I mean, that's a really dark, sad.
No, it's deeply sad story, and it's, you know, but I think it's the relationship between Kafuku and Misaki is the most wholesome part of it. It's not, I don't think it gets to the level of like she becomes like a replacement daughter or anything like that, because they don't know each other that well, but he does sort of gradually become comforted by her presence, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
I
was thinking too, like, I was kind of hypothesizing about what would happen after the story. Like, maybe he would not like her anymore because she ended up talking too much.
Oh yeah,
you
true.
Know? Like,
well, because by the end of the story, the last spoilers, but the last line is, you know, he's kind of exhausted by talking to her about this tough stuff, you know, and he goes, "I'm going to sleep a little," Kafuku said. Misaki didn't answer. She quietly studied the road. Kafuku was grateful for her silence.
Yeah. It's like, that's the only conversation they're going to have for the next like 6 months.
Yeah, that's totally possible. So I think, yeah. Oh yeah, go ahead. No, I was just gonna
say that. Okay, you want to go? Yeah. That was a total moment where you're like walking into the grocery store and someone goes the same way as you. Yeah, I just wanted to say that I think this is a good example of Murakami's just sad boy, deep depressed man who needs to like get to the bottom of what's bugging him and his trauma and face it. This kind of happens in The Colorless Toshiro Tozuki. I totally pronounced that wrong, but that's a great little novel of his.
I want to read that one.
It's about a, you know, sad boy guy in his 30s or 40s who needs to face his trauma. And there's a trope about, I keep saying that, but Murakami definitely falls back to these themes of just suppressed depression and just a guy who like dealing with his loneliness and not facing it and never even having the idea to face it. Like, someone needs to kind of drag him out of it the way Misaki did.
Mm-hmm.
I suspect that Kafuku probably feels better about talking about Takatsuki in this relationship to someone finally after all these years, and just having this kind of session. But yeah, I thought it was a good little story.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was a good opening to the collection for some of those, just in general, it's a good story, and just in general, kind of some of those cheeky moments about, and I'll be interested to see if there are more of those throughout this collection, kind of Murakami like performatively responding to the like misogyny, like women critique thing.
When did he write this?
This came out in 2018, I think, maybe 2017.
Okay.
2018. Well, that was, yeah. Or no. 2017, first English translation.
Oh yeah.
I guess a lot of these stories were written in like the 2014, earlier, but still, that critique had already been sort of like leveled by then.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, I'll be interested to see if some of those things continue throughout the rest of the collection. The other thing I'll say is that it's kind of a weird story for me to start with, because like I wanted to read these collections and some more Murakami, because I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to find the weirdness. Let me find the weird. Let me find the magical realism. And this is totally not that at all. This is basically just, this is like in the same style as like Norwegian Wood, where it's just pure realism, pure like just real people having real problems.
Yep.
But so I will also be interested to see if that the other aspects of his writing kind of seep into some of these other stories.
Yeah, I really don't know. I haven't read anything about this, so I don't know if they're in there or not, which is kind of fun.
We'll see. And you, viewer, will see with us as we read all of them and make videos about it.
Yeah, viewer. Get ready for a wild ride.
Ooh. Oh, I wrote down a name. I think this could be our name. We could call these the Murakami Minisodes.
That's good.
They're like mini episodes.
Murraysodes.
We'll workshop it.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Should we give these like stories like ratings?
Sure.
All right.
Quick.
Quick ratings. What do you think, Paul?
I'm gonna give it a. It's really hard to judge a short story.
Yeah.
A tiny story, right?
I know. Yeah.
I don't know how to do this. I'm gonna say 3.9.
Whoa. Okay. I would give it. I think I would give it like a 3.1. So.
Oh wow. Okay.
But right. Again, 2.5 is good. 2.5 is average.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I'm having trouble with this. I'm gonna say 3.5. It didn't blow me away, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought it was good.
I mean, one reason before we go, one reason I love Murakami is like if reading his books makes me feel like I'm meditating. Like he just writes really clearly. He actually, I don't know if this is still true, but he started off writing in English. Like he doesn't write in Japanese.
I've heard that. Well, he has, but I don't remember when it was. This is what I heard. I could be wrong, but it was that I forget what novel it was that he started writing in. It might have been his first one, but he did it because he specifically wanted to write simply and pare down his writing, and so writing in a language that he wasn't 100% fluent in forced him to do that.
Exactly, but I mean, at the end of this short story, it does say translated by somebody. So
let's give them a shout out.
Yes.
Ted Goosen. Thank you,
Ted. Great work, Ted.
Lovely translation.
Must be really hard to translate, but great job. But yeah, I think that it definitely comes through in his writing. It's very simple. It makes me feel like I'm meditating, which I've never meditated, but I imagine it would be like this.
I meditate when I just spend an hour on the toilet in the morning.
I've been meditating while playing God of War because I love PS4 games now. I'm addicted.
Paul's having a gamer moment.
Yeah, I just got a PS4 and I can't stop.
Paul, do you want to shout out your Overwatch name so people can assault you? Don't.
Sure.
I advise against it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's really funny. I wanted to say it. It's a great name.
Paul, do you want to just say your address or anything?
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, anything else you want to say about this? I'm looking forward to the rest of the stories.
No, I mean, next time I think I'm going to bring my social security card and my birth certificate. But I
will say my cringe meter is already activated by the next story, which is called Yesterday, and I know it's named after a Beatles song, and I hate it. I hate the Beatles. I don't like the Beatles, and Murakami has already fucking pushed me with Norwegian Wood. He's pushed me to the edge of Beatles cringe, and I don't like it.
Yeah, I'm not excited for that either. I hate the Beatles also. I also hate cars, and Murakami like loves talking about cars.
I don't know what it is, because all I've ever heard is like Murakami loves jazz. He's all about the boo bop boo 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 dop bop. And every fucking story I've read is about the fucking Beatles.
It's Beatles and cars. There's a lot of car talk in Killing Commendatory too. Like
there is a lot of car talk. Yeah, that's true. But okay, but this one is at least not about the Beatles. This is like classical music in this one.
Yeah. I hate the Beatles, and I hate cars. So those are the two things I hate most about
this channel, and this podcast is on the record officially anti-Beatles.
I agree. I vote yes. We'll have to see what Matt says. I think he may be a little twerp about it and be like, like I love the Beatles.
I think he's Beatles sympathetic, but I don't think he's like a fan.
Yeah, I don't think he's a fan.
All right, well, we'll see you in the next video, people. We're the next Minisode.
Murakami Minisode.
If this didn't suck, or if it only sucked a little bit, you can like the video and subscribe to our channel. And we have a fresh, dank Patreon that we just started, patreon.com/spinecrackers. There's a lot of fun things up there. Paul's gonna Paul, what do you got planned? You don't know details, but what's your vibe? You're gonna be doing some
how much detail? No details, but how much details should I give? Should I
well
say my
just
little plan?
just the general media. You're gonna be doing some like
I'm gonna be branching out of just prose media. That does not mean poetry. It's a little more visual than most books.
It's comic books.
It's comic books.
Or I don't know if you would call that a comic book, whatever. We don't have to get into that, but it's graphic novels.
They're French comic books, so it's not like I'm reviewing DC, Marvel, like stupid shit. You know, some of this stuff I can't even read because it's in French. I bought it from France, so that's how cool I am.
Whoa. Okay. So Paul's just gonna be okay. I love it. Anyway, so that'll be on the Patreon, and we will probably be alternating these mini episodes between YouTube and the Patreon as well. Some of them will be going up on Patreon only. Some of them you'll be able to get on YouTube. So if you like this, if you like Murakami, if you want to see us review more Murakami stories, let us know and maybe consider signing up for the Patreon, where there's a lot of fun bonus content. It's content, baby. The capital C content.
Yes.
All right, y'all. Thanks, YouTube.
Bye, YouTube.
Bye.